Okay, so Dr. Mordechai Kedar is a historian, holds a PhD in Middle Eastern history, knows Islam like the back of his hand, speaks fluent Arabic, and does not mince words when it comes to Israel's survival and Islam's desire to destroy it. Let's get right into it.
Is why they refrain from attacking Israel, because the price which Israel will take from them is too high. Apparently, they are afraid of the Mossad more than they are afraid of the CIA and all the others, because they saw what the Mossad can do when Israel decides to operate this organization. Israel is determined to keep its security above every other consideration. So this was the attack on Tuesday. And ever since then, the Arab world is in a storm. Look, today, before this interview, I had an interview about this issue in one of the Arab satellite channels. The Arab world understands very well. When Israel is determined to keep its security, the Arab world is afraid. Therefore, there are Arab interventions already in the elections here in Israel in order to convince the Israelis to vote for the left, for the Labour Party, for the Democrats as they call themselves today, or to others, Isaac or to others, because they do not want the right wing to be in the power in Israel, because the right wing defeated Hamas, not totally. We didn't get rid of them yet. It's very hard. We hit Hezbollah to a degree that they begged for a ceasefire in December 2024, which enabled Jolani to take Syria over. We hit the Iranians, who, with the right mind, thought 3 years ago that Israel will actually target the supreme leader of Iran. Who thought about this? Who thought that Israel will do anything to Hezbollah, which owned a stockpile of 150,000 missiles? 150,000. La, you know what it means? Did you ever count something which was 150,000? Anything? Okay, this is the number of missiles which Hezbollah had. Israel was petrified in front of Hezbollah, in front of Hamas, in front of Iran. Israel was afraid. 2 tents which Hezbollah made on Israeli soil in Lebanon, near Lebanon. Israel was afraid to deal with these 2 tents because Israel was afraid from a war which might erupt with Hezbollah. And today, Israel flies above Syria, above Iraq, all the way to Iran to bomb them whenever and wherever we choose. We occupied 70% of the Gaza Strip, and Hamas are hiding in the caves and in the tunnels. Hezbollah are afraid of us. We attack them whenever we want, with American consent, of course. And Israel became something totally different. And the Arab world is afraid because they know that if Israel wants, Israel will hit them. Israel even hit Qatar, means Palestinians in Qatar, some terrorists in Qatar. And Israel was the first. Then Iran did it to Qatar as well. Their bosom buddy did it to them as well. So here we are. Israel changed dramatically its image in the Middle East. The cost was tremendous. We have losses. Our soldiers got killed, many of them injured, many of them. Many of them are traumatized until this very day. Yes, the price is tremendous, but losing life of the state would be way much worse as they planned to do to us. So here we are. We are on watch everywhere. If the Turks thought they are immune because they are a member in NATO and because they have a big army and because Israel hinted to Erdogan that Israel can target Turkey as well. If we reach 7 kilometers from the Turkish border, we can cross these 7 kilometers and more as well. And Turkey is closer than Iran, just to remind everybody. So this is actually what happened. And I'm almost sure that Erdogan will do something against it, and we'll have to see where things go. After all, we do have embassies in both. Israel has an embassy in Turkey, and Turkey has an embassy in Israel. The two countries didn't cut ties yet. The relations are cold for a long time already because El Al doesn't fly anymore to Turkey, and Turkish airliners, I think, don't fly to Israel anymore. Maybe a little bit. The Turks actually boycott Israel economically, at least officially. I'm afraid, I think that behind the scenes, there are economic relations between Israel and Turkey, because Turkey is in a very bad economic situation. They cannot afford giving up on Israeli products to those which they need. So, and I do believe that Netanyahu and Erdogan might even be invited by Trump both together to the White House in order to shake hands in front of the cameras when Trump holds both their hands in order to make sure that they really shake each other's hand. And he might do it because the man is unexpected. And when he hears the two friends of his are fist fighting with each other, apparently he will be willing to interfere. Maybe. I don't know. I'm a very small expert about Trump. So this is, I think, what I had to say and had to be said about the situation of today. Iran remained a problem. Nobody really knows what will be. Every evening when I go to sleep, to tell you a secret, in many nights I go with my clothes on me to sleep, not with shoes, but with clothes, in case we have the siren on and we have to run to the shelter because I have to go 5 floors down to the shelter. We don't have at home a safe room. So this is just to tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone. So here we are. As long as the war in Iran is not finished, everybody should be at least in some level of alert.
Thank you so much. It's so insightful to hear this, and I think one of the questions that it leaves me with is the why now. If Turkey has been pining for a neo-Ottoman Renaissance, why now? And I think that some of the interesting timing that we're observing is that Turkey has formed this Mecca Joint Defense Agreement with Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, that if one of them is attacked, then they will all come to each other's defense. And at the same time, there's this conversation resurfacing about Syria and its nuclear capabilities, and that there is still nuclear material. And Syria saying that it should be able to develop nuclear weapons for civilian purposes, naturally. So all of these things are happening at the same time that we're having this conversation. How does that impact it? Does Turkey see a void, or why now?
You're right. What happens, let's say, in the recent few weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the impression here in the Middle East is the war between the United States and Iran actually entered some kind of impasse. It goes nowhere, like a dead end. Nobody really knows, nobody really sees where this war goes, what will be the outcome of this war. Nobody really sees any solution because every side is sticking to its positions. And something which nobody can stop is the calendar. All approach the midterm elections in the United States. Everybody here, the Emirates and the Saudis and the Turks and many others, are afraid, Pakistanis as well, are afraid that at one point, close to the elections, Trump will raise hands and say, okay, I tried. I cannot go to elections when all my troops are in the Middle East. I will lose it. And for a while, I withdraw from the Middle East and we'll see after the election what I'm doing. This is apparently what might happen if the status quo as it is today will continue towards the elections. Everybody in the Middle East is afraid of it because Iran or the Iranian regime will remain in power, injured, humiliated, and it will treat everybody in the Middle East, especially the Sunni countries, Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and others. It will take revenge from anyone who did not side with Iran. And nobody sides with Iran today. Means they will all suffer from Iran with no ability to stop Iran from hitting them. They don't have this ability today. They will not have it tomorrow because the Iranians couldn't care less about their own casualties and they care less about other people's or other nations or other states' casualties. They don't care about the Saudis, don't care about the Emiratis. Even the Qataris, their bosom buddies, they don't care about them, let alone the Jordanians, Israelis. And you know what? The Turkish as well, they are Sunnah. So everybody is afraid of Iran, which might have the license after the Americans withdraw from this area to ignite the whole area as some kind of revenge. And this is what pushed Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Turkey, because all of them are almost bordering. Pakistan borders with Iran, Turkey borders with Iran, and they are afraid of refugees which might run away from Iran if the regime cracks on the minorities, especially those who do not support the regime. And Saudi Arabia is behind the Gulf, close enough. Kuwait is shaking and shivering because Kuwait has a border with Iran, and Kuwait could be occupied by ground forces. Saudi Arabia needs people from the air. Okay, so this is actually what is behind this alliance or new treaties between Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Turkey. All are seeing themselves as potential victims of the wrath of the Iranians after Trump takes his tail out from this region, as they say in Arabic. And this is actually, they see forward, they see behind the hill. Okay? They understand that the war goes nowhere, the Iranian regime will remain there, and they will be the next targets of the Iranians if and when and after Trump fails to get rid of the Iranian regime. By the way, maybe this is the reason that Trump announced, I think today, about fastening the economic grip on the Iranian regime. The boycott will be much more fierce, and maybe this will be the way which will push the Iranian regime to collapse. And he tries everything. He shoots to all the directions, and nothing so far worked so far. Okay, there are all kinds of estimates, all kinds of, but a regime which doesn't care about its own citizens will kill them in big numbers, as they did in January. A regime which doesn't care about the welfare of its own citizens, they will sacrifice everything. A regime which doesn't care about others, other nations. So what can defeat him? You can hit them as much as you like. You can kill as many, even the leadership. However, maybe the leadership is more sensitive for them because, in my humble view, so far, since the hostilities restarted some 2 months ago, they did not attack Israel even once. Not one missile, no nothing. Why? Because they are afraid that Israel knows where Mujtaba is hiding. And in the first hit, Israel will send him to his father. And this is why, so far, they refrain from attacking Israel. Because the price which Israel will take from them is too high. Apparently, they are afraid of the Mossad more than they are afraid of the CIA and all the others.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. Dr. Kedar has been on my show before. He has such a vast knowledge of the region. He understands that if Israel is strong and connected, if the Israelis get along, for the most part, they don't necessarily have to get along, but if they understand fundamentally that Israel's survival is at stake and make the correct decisions not to allow its enemies to push forward in their desire to destroy it, then Israel will have peace. Because as long as the Muslim world sees that Israel's weak, it'll embolden them to fight Israel. When they see that Israel's strong, Israel's willing to batter them, to subdue them, then they will stay seated. That's really what it comes down to. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your real estate needs. Subscribe, like, and share. Support the channel via the Buy Me a Coffee link in the pinned comment or description. You can also send me a Zelle, which is in the description. Thank you as always for your support. Until next time, peace.